What is up, guys? Welcome back to the Average American Podcast. This is your host, Nathan Tate. It's been a couple weeks since I did a video. It took a little time. As you can see, I've set myself up in a spare bedroom that we have instead of my fucking living room floor. So, fuck yeah, dude. Moving up. Production's up, buddy. But in the 2 to 3 week hiatus that I've taken, a lot of shit's happened. A lot of, I won't call them cataclysmic, but very telling things. I think the big one for most of us, if you're someone who believes like I do or listens, to me at all, is Massie losing his primary. That was a tough one for me. I think that I really had hoped that he would win and we would get some semblance of hope from that victory. Feeling like we can still fight the good fight against, they poured all the resources in. I don't know if you know, but, $25 million for Ed Galbraith. It ended up being $32 million spent by APAC, I believe. Or the numbers might have been like 20 million for Ed Galbraith and like, Massie might have had like 12 million or something. But either way, most expensive House primary in U.S. history. So already crazy. And then, you look at all the things they did to oust Massie in that primary. They created fake ads. They did an AI video of him with Ilhan Omar and AOC checking into a hotel, trying to make it seem scandalous. As much money as they could pour into. And here's the other thing we have to be realistic about. Is that, okay, so I saw a lot of people when they were talking about it using these prediction markets to, kind of say like, oh, this is the point poll. Like the prediction markets became the polls. Yeah, there were polls conducted, but like who believes the fucking polls anymore? It's just not, who's answering polls? Betting markets are a bit of a different situation. You could really somewhat reliably say that a betting market could be a strong indicator of what may publicly happen, which it ended up being a relatively decent indicator of what might happen publicly. But that to revert to the point is that they spent all that money, and we have no idea how much money they spent on the poly market, Kalshi, whatever public trading access that this was on. And they probably spent millions to try to sway it, because in the reality of the digital world, if you see that and you're someone who's like, oh, I'm for Thomas Massie, you may lose hope. You may not feel the need to vote. You may not want to speak your opinion on it. It does a lot of things in the digital world, and APAC is not, foreign to it. The Adelsons, oh God, what's that? Paul Singer. These guys are big money, big money. Okay, billions, and so $20 million is but a drop in the bucket, really, to them. But it's more or less the effort that they put in to oust this man, because he said no more aid to Israel. We don't need to put aid to Israel, which, yes, sir. And he made sure that the Epstein files got released. Well, attempted his best to make sure that the Epstein files got released. And, we still have about 3 million documents that haven't been released. It's a law. They're breaking the law right now. And so, he made himself public enemy number one. And that's just, in Trump's government, it's just not going to work. It's different with Democrats, which is crazy, by the way, that they've never gone this hard at a Democrat to try to oust the Democrats. Because if they put all this money into the Democrats, like, they could easily oust them, because I think what this really showed, or what I noticed it really showed, for me personally, was the, older generation has a hold on our political system right now. The president is 80. Our last president was 80 and senile. Most of the Congress members are 65 and above. It's just the reality that the old people are like, they just, manipulate the system to their own benefit and fuck the rest of us, fuck the young people. They're creating debt that's going to, trickle down to your kids' kids, some situation we may never be able to come out of. But so, yeah, it was definitely tough for me when he lost. I really had a lot of hope, and the early numbers were pretty even. But as the day wore on, you could kind of tell that, that warm body, as Trump referred to him, got enough of the old people to vote. Enough Fox News watchers came out and were like, Trump said that I need to do this, so I'm going to do it. And we have to be realistic about the fact that, while they still have the ability to vote, they're going to turn out more than we are. They don't have jobs, man. They're retired, most of them. There's really not much else they're living for, and they are easily captivated by what they see on television because that's the news source that they're aware of. That's the one they understand. They're not into podcasts and independent media and all this kind of shit. They're the few million people that are keeping, I shouldn't even say keeping afloat, because, they're these corporations like CNN, MSNBC, Fox may do a little bit better just because Republicans are just a little bit more loyal, if you will, in terms of like they'll just straight up watch that shit no matter what. But, either way, that's the demographic that ended up turning out to the primaries, which is usually how it works. I mean, I don't know too many young people that vote in primaries. I would have voted for Thomas Massie in a primary, but I don't live in Kentucky's 4th District. And that's the thing. It's such a secular part, of the Kentucky's 4th District. Like, it's not, a Kentucky senator. It's not a state race where a bunch of people can elect an individual. This is a, very secular race that was just to a 4th congressional district. But I think a lot of it was very telling because, yeah, it was Kentucky's 4th district race, but man, were a lot of young people galvanized by just what Thomas Massie is doing, and myself included. I'm only 30, so I'm definitely in that demographic, and I think whatever he was doing or attempting to do and what he's still going to do, he said he's going to release Epstein file names, which, fuck yeah, dude, let's get as many of those as we can, if not all of them. And then if you haven't seen the Section 224 of the most recent omnibus bill that's trying to be passed through has that section, that 224, states that they are going to unite the United States and Israeli military strategists, resources, all that kind of stuff. And look, don't quote me because I don't know the exact details. I know what I've read. And I know that I don't need to know the details to know that that sounds absolutely fucking horrendous, and I am not for it. And, Thomas Massie and Ro Khanna, Republican, Democrat, working together on this to try to strip that out of it, which, hey, let's go. Let's go. You've already given him, probably what he feels like is a new leash on life. I could go scorched earth in this motherfucker, So I look forward to that. And then he refiled, to run for public office. And he has not decided or said what kind of public office, but, if that guy runs for president, I will do whatever I can as an American citizen to try and get him elected. I will do whatever I can to try and get Thomas Massie into the fucking White House. Now, I don't know what that would mean in terms of actual policy achievement. But what I do know is that getting Thomas Massie into the White House would be the biggest middle finger to not only AIPAC, but the system at large. The system that continues to serve the lobbies and the money and the self-interests and the shit that it was not made for. There's a reason that Congress is Article 1. Okay, they're supposed to protect us. That's the whole point of the Republic and the constituency, and, why we're fucking supposed to be having several different representatives. That's why it's not one representative from each state or something like that. We have House members and we have senators. And then you have local communities as well that have city councils and all. Like, there's something to be said that maybe there's too much government for sure, but I think it's necessary at least the local level for that to matter for them. excuse me, for them to be able to impact our day-to-day lives, bringing the jobs, the businesses, stuff like that, excuse me. So, I think that's super important. State government, I would much rather have state government than I would federal government. Unfortunately, both are intertwined together. But I would much rather have straight up state government than fucking, federal government with, the ability to dictate what the state does. And really that's, if you know anything about history, that's the Federalist, non-Federalist debates that occurred, I want to say, prior to the Civil War. I want to say only the 1850s. So when that debate was being held, I'd have to double check my timetable. But yeah, so I don't know exactly what will happen or what this will mean. And clearly it means that Trump gets 2 more years of some dude just going, yeah. Which is cool because it's only 2 years, so fuck that guy. Like, it's 2 years. Once Trump is done, like, who do they turn to? There's no one that galvanizes those old retards quite the way that Trump does. You have to give him that. You have to give him his ability to galvanize a bunch of individuals and convince them to come to his cause. So, as much as he fucking sucks as president, and as stupid as he may be, let's look at the Iran war, you have to give him credit there that he can galvanize his base. Unfortunately, he's lost most of it. He's got just enough to, like, not necessarily lose his presidency, but he'll go down, I think, looked at in the same light as, second-term Bush, essentially. Iraq, Afghanistan Bush that had some of the worst polling numbers ever. He's on par with Biden after COVID and shit like that, and looking at it probably getting worse if he doesn't figure out how to get us out of here. And, I'm with the fucking dude. Listen, we don't need to swing our dicks around. Everybody knows that we love to, but we could just cut and run. We could just say, you know what, this didn't work. I thought it was a certain strategy, and, I'm out. And I think the American people, as much as we've maligned Trump, we'd be like, thank God that this guy finally pulled together some fucking common sense and finally did what was necessary. Not only for the American people, but just for the, you talk about the empire, okay? And I'm not one for American imperialism, truth be told. But, that's kind of what's happened is we turned this global economy and really tried to use our ability from the unipolar moment in 93 to, good Lord, to try and force globalization and us be the global hegemon. We had that for a little while, but unfortunately we didn't do the necessary steps to it because we led with bravado and hubris. When Russia asked George Bush to be part of NATO, we should have taken that. If we were going to stay in NATO and keep NATO, which, listen, I think NATO's a bunch of horse shit. And I think we all just learned from this Iran war that it doesn't matter if you're in NATO. UAE, Qatar, whoever is a part of NATO, which North America Trade Organization. Like, okay. Yeah. A lot of those countries aren't in North America. Anyway, but we've seen that he can't protect. I shouldn't say he. I'm not putting it all on Trump, but just America as a whole. We cannot protect those who we said we would protect, who have been surviving on that protection, or at least depending on it if anything was to ever pop off, i.e. war in the Middle East again. And so I heard, who did I hear that from? I was listening, I think it might have been Tucker, who said that the UAE is going to stop using dollars when they run out. That's not great. BRICS is probably getting stronger by the day, the longer we drag this on. And the more that we create chaos in the region, just that's the stronger that Iran gets. They're not having any, I guess I shouldn't say they're not having any problems, but they're not problems they're not used to. We live in comfort, and we really know peace in terms of not having to struggle. But the reality is, we are going to face some hard questions here soon, because energy crises always lag behind. We're always, 1 to 2 months outside of the real process. And you could be years down the line from understanding how that affects manufacturing, depending on how long it lasts. And not to mention, people are already struggling with just gas prices. Once the prices of goods go up that are affected by oil or energy production, that really becomes a fucking issue. As if inflation already isn't taking people out and making it difficult for you to afford. I mean, every week me and my wife go to the store. It's impossible to spend less than $150 on groceries. It really is. It's crazy. But, we are in this system that's been built and manipulated. And so I just don't know that the younger generations will really be able to affect change until a lot of your parents die off. And listen, I love my fucking parents. I don't want my parents to pass away. But there's a lot of parents, a lot of like old people, 70 and above, who are just not, like, they aren't with what's going. And there's something to be said for not holding back the youth and allowing them to take the mantle, and they're just not. They're the most selfish generation of people I've ever fucking seen. It's crazy. They don't want to listen to any of the young people you don't know and all of those things. And I just think that it's ridiculous to think that you should be making the choices that will affect the future when you won't be around to suffer the ramifications of those decisions. And so, I hope that 2028 shows that young people are ready to become more involved in politics. I think is really where I want to go and what I want to do. And, I don't know. I've considered running for local city council and stuff like that, but I don't know if that's how you would best serve. It's important to be tuned into your local community, especially if you've lived there a long time. Listen, I've lived in this place for like going on a decade, and I'm fucking so mad that I haven't been able to leave. But at the same time, I'm starting to settle into the fact that I'm probably going to buy a house here, at least my first house, before we, branch out, if that's fucking possible. I mean, let's be realistic. I'm not trying to be too dystopian here, but let's wait a minute and see how shit pans out. But, the community I live in, I've resented because I've had some tough times here. And every time I've tried to leave, I've ended up coming back. And I don't know, maybe that's probably my fault. But at the same time, if everything wasn't so fucking expensive everywhere, I think that I probably would have left and stayed gone. But it's just so easy to come back and get reset. And it worked out for us every time. I can't even be mad. But that's all to say, like, I've started to consider the fact that, like, if I'm going to live here, I need to consider my local community, the one that I reside in the way in which it affects me, property taxes, all this kind of stuff that I'll be getting into as we get a little older, and maybe I do get a house. If not just the local and county tax that I have to pay year over year. That's not improving the roads that I drive on. That's not improving the infrastructure. We've got businesses leaving while you're bringing in more corporate businesses. I worry in the town I live in about corporatism taking over. And it's not to say there's anything wrong with corporations. Everybody started somewhere. But, mom and pop shops are the backbone of America. And we're really getting to a point where they're trying to take away that kind of stuff. There is a war on the middle class. And it's so crazy because my dad would say it to me when I was young. I was too young to really grasp the concept and didn't even really understand the class system well enough to resonate. I'm like 11, 12 when he's talking about it, and I'm just not grasping these concepts. But now as I look at an adult, it's like, yeah, they've been waging this war forever. The haves versus the have-nots. And the have-nots will have to listen to the haves. This oligarchy that we live in under. We just saw it, like I said with the Massie thing. That's oligarch power. Money pushes out whatever they don't agree with. But the real thing that I love and love about that moment is I think it showed everybody that we have to be proactive. I donated to Thomas Massie's campaign. I'm not a rich person, but I donated some money to try to help. Best I could. And I put money behind anybody that I think would do great or, try to do it myself and hope people would give me money. Whatever. There needs to be a movement, something people put together to try and bring back American freedoms and American liberty, because we gave up a lot of it during COVID because a bunch of people are dumb. I mean, if you just want me to say, I tweaked the first 2 months of COVID. Trapped in my house, couldn't work. I'm watching death toll rising on my phone and shit, and I've never seen anything like this. I was 24. Yeah, I was 24. I've never seen anything like that at all. And I was like, oh my God, the world's falling apart. Like, I don't know what's happening. And then as time moved on, I realized that, like, oh, it's not that bad. I've gotten COVID. My wife got COVID a couple of times. My grandmother got COVID. My 80-year-old grandma got fucking COVID and didn't die. But yeah, we shut down all the economy. We shut down all that shit. And a bunch of you motherfuckers went along with it. And we're just like, wear your mask. Wear your mask. Where's your mask? And so the reality is, we have to fight to try to get back what we gave up in those moments. And I don't know if we can, but I'm not going to lay down and just take it. I'm going to get behind whoever I can that believes in liberty and freedom. I'm going to get behind whoever I can that believes in fiscal responsibility. I'd like to be able to afford a house without having to decide whether that means I could have kids. And listen, I'm not having kids, but that's a decision a lot of young couples are coming to. Can I afford to have a child? And then we wonder why population rates are down. Our replacement rate is not sustaining itself, which is fine because, the AI and the data centers. And I'm sure you've all seen, if you go and look up Coweta County, the one of Kevin Leary I did on my TikTok, I made a post about, and listen to his interview with Tucker too, where it's over like several years, but eventually it's supposed to double the entire power outage or power output of Utah. On top of the fact that he got 60,000 acres or something to build, just this massive fucking thing. And then you listen to his interview with Tucker, and he's like, China, China, China. And I'm not even arguing that the Chinese maybe don't want to consolidate some kind of global power, but they have their own fucking problems to worry about. And considering how much they've watched us fail, they are in the rising part of what we went through. So in our 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s, that era where the economy exploded, and people really could afford stuff, and it was a great time to be an American. The economy was booming. I'm making money hand over fist. All that shit. And that's kind of what China's going through, except they're a communist country. So, with the communist country, the people don't really benefit from it. A secular amount of them might. Those who cooperate with the government and those who, own the means of production. The government really does, but they have proxies they work through, so to speak. And it just feels more and more like we're going that way. We're trying to turn into this communist control. We're already pretty much a surveillance state. I mean, I don't know about you, and I don't know if you've looked into it, but I got flock cameras in my city, and my city's small. Next, it'll be small towns that'll have flock cameras. They're already telling people that you can't fucking say no to AI data centers in your town. There have been rural towns where several of them have had meetings and stuff like that, and they're basically it's 3 people who are deciding for this entire county, go fuck yourself. We're gonna have an AI data center put in because they gave us a bunch of money, and that's at least that's what it seems like. And people are going to have to take a stand against some of these things. Some of this stuff that's really fucking valuable and important. And I want to read off this list of names that I have here. I did some APAC research the other night. And I put it on my TikTok, but I also thought it would be important to research this. And this is just from DMFI, Democratic something for Israel. I can't remember what the acronym stands for, but it's AIPAC related to sub-pack of AIPAC as an entity. And this is all the people that are in it. And this is all the people I could just find on the AIPAC tracker. There were other individuals that I researched on my own that were not on the AIPAC tracker website. So there's more than just this, but these are just the ones I have found so far. There is Mary Peltola, Jasmeet Baines, Joe Kerr, Marnie Von Wilpert, Christina Bohannon, Donna Miller, Melissa Bean, Adrian Boffo, David Trone, Roy Cooper, Denise Powell, Moira Sullivan, Sue Altman, Kate Conley, Paige Cognetti, Janelle Stelson, Colin Allrad, Johnny Garcia, Ben McAdams, Elaine Luria, and Rebecca Cook. And there's also another individual, Valerie Fouché. She also received money from AIPAC, and that was an independent research that I did. And that's just one pack that we've seen. We've been infiltrated for who knows how fucking long. I could not tell you. But we are infiltrated. And we have to stand up against this. We have to stop these people from taking over fully before we don't have any ability and autonomy. If you go and look at what's happening in the UK, they removed or are working to remove, I can't remember, it's either happened or it's going to happen, trial by jury. So now it's just a judge. Some random judge gets to pass judgment on your case based on the facts that they saw. And then, what is that kid's name? That British kid that just got fucking killed. Let me Google it really quick. Henry Nowak? Yeah, that kid that, I haven't watched this video yet, but from what I've seen from everybody, the body cam footage is horrendous, and they basically told him he hadn't been stabbed. And this kid was in custody and bled out to death. And, like, I don't want to make it a race thing, but there is an attack on white people. There really is. And if it was happening to any other demographic, everyone would fucking be up in arms about it. Like the George Floyd shit. Or anything like that. Or not wanting Somalian individuals to be in government. Or the fact that I personally don't want Muslims, to fucking be in government. I don't care if you live here and be a part of the community. But it's your responsibility to assimilate to us, not come in and force us out. I mean, Jesus, do you know about Lakewood, New Jersey? You know that Tyler Oliveira kid? I guess he's not a kid, he's a young man, but, going there and just getting deplatformed. In his interview with Tucker, he said that he had 2 different website servers. These are servers, these are hosts that host these website servers where he was running his website on, banned and shut him down. This is random individuals, okay? This is not like an entity. And so that's what they'll do to you. And eventually it'll become, your Facebook posts will be the problem, or your Instagram posts will be the problem. Whatever social media you use, they're going to come to your house and they're going to ask you why you said that, why you posted, and why you thought that was okay. And I don't know about you, but I'm not fucking cool with that. And then, like I said earlier, the flock cameras, they're slowly integrating the surveillance state. And as we build the data centers, and as AI becomes more intelligent and more unpredictable, and it puts itself together in a way that is almost human-like, and it can already build upon itself, and it's evolving exponentially. They already use it for facial recognition and all of this stuff. And I really went through like a dark period where I didn't think that there's really any hope. And I still can't guarantee that there's actually any fucking hope. But what I can guarantee is that I'm not going out like a bitch. That's what I can guarantee. I'm not going to fucking let them just take everything from me. Fuck that. I'm going to use my voice and any other tools I have at my disposal to prevent them from removing my liberties whether that be my right to bear arms, my right to assembly, my freedom of speech, whatever the fuck they want to come for, we take a stand against that fucking shit. And maybe it's too late, but I'm not afraid to say that I would die on a hill of freedom, because what the fuck else am I doing? What else is the purpose of living if you're not living to protect the rights of not only you, but everyone around you? The people who can't even see that their rights are being taken. I see so many comments on a Facebook, especially regarding to the Flock thing, where they're like, well, if you didn't have anything to hide. And it's like, it's not about having anything to hide. I'm not committing crimes, just walking around. But I also don't want to just be surveilled all the fucking time. It's bad enough I got a damn tracker in my pocket all the time and my whole life is wrapped around it because they've done that. Whether intentionally or unintentionally, it's to their benefit. And I'm addicted to the damn thing. And I can be honest about that. Like, I'm well aware of my addiction to my phone. I think most of us are. But there are some of us who refuse to acknowledge it, which is fair. It's fine. It's not something you want to. But, I don't know. You try to get away from it every once in a while if you can help it. But the reality is that we're inching ever closer to something that we don't understand and something we're very ill prepared for. And these people have been preparing this shit forever. Okay? This is, Federal Reserve type of ramifications. And if you don't understand what I mean by that, you should look into the Federal Reserve and the creation of it in 1913 and what it's done since and why it's a private entity and not a government entity, and why it was needed to be created at all. But like I said, I don't have full despair. I think that we get out and we exercise our right to vote. You learn something from that, right? If you go out in 2028 and you vote for the candidate that you believe in, I'm going to vote for Thomas Massie if he runs, but I'll try to find a candidate to believe in. Or I'll just go and write in Thomas Massie. And I encourage anyone who does not believe in whatever candidate they trot out, whatever troglodyte they try to put on stage, to go ahead and write in Thomas Massie's name. Or the person you believe in, right? If it's a Ro Khanna or someone like that, whoever it may be that you think holds values that are aligned with yours. You write that person in. Don't vote blue just because. Don't vote red just because. Don't vote just because. Have principle behind it. Have the belief of what you're doing is for the sanctity and good of the fellow man and woman that live within your community and that live within your country, and not for us to be taken over or destroyed from within. I believe in fighting for what I believe in, and I will continue to do that until I cease to breathe, whenever that may come and by whatever manner that may happen. But I do know that as I get older, the more I realize that this game is rigged against me. And I'm okay with that. I'm okay with the game being rigged against me. But if they think that means I'll stop playing, they can go fuck themselves. Because I will keep playing and I will learn how to fucking win. Or I'll die trying. And with those words, I salute you, fuckers. Thanks for tuning in this week. I appreciate it, man. I was on a little hiatus. I was down, but I'm back. Up the production stuff, I think is a little bit better in here. Lighting's a little better. I think it just seems a little bit more serious. And I'm going to start taking this shit a little bit more fucking serious. So I hope to see you guys in the future. And I look forward to hearing from people that share a like-minded opinion. Thanks for tuning in and watching. I appreciate it. Everyone have a good week. See ya.